Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg's Town Workshop for the evening of Monday, August 18th, 2025. At this time, I invite you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking ahead to future meetings, well, this isn't necessarily a future meeting. This is just a reminder that the last day to file as an election candidate, if you plan on running for one of the commissioner seats, is 5 p.m. at the town office on Friday, August 29th. And that's registering with the county as well. It says register with the county. I assume you register here, you register with the county.
No, you have to be a registered voter in Frederick County to vote in a town election.
Okay, so you have to be a registered voter, and then the last day to file to run here in the election is Friday. I would assume 5 p.m. end of business day here in the town office. It does require some notarizations, so plan accordingly. And then our next Board of Commissioners. Wait a minute, shouldn't this say September?
Yeah, it should be September 8th.
Is Monday, September 8th. So we're slightly late due to the holiday the week before. So Monday, September 8th at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. Moving right along to commissioner comments rather than going down the row. If you have comments, commissioners, to share, please just raise your hand. I'll make sure to recognize you. If you don't have any comments, I'll move on.
There's a Parks meeting tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Parks and Rec meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, August 19th, here in the town office at 7 p.m. Thank you. All right. Are there any other meetings I'm missing? Okay. Any other commissioners have comments? No?
No.
Okay. Mayor Davis, comment?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving on to the agenda items. There's only one agenda item today, and that's discussion related to ordinance 25-03 and rental registration program. This was set up to be a workshop so we could discuss and give feedback, clarification as to what the council would like to see in the rental registration program within this ordinance that's provided to us. I know that this one's new from the time we met back in the fall. It wasn't necessarily my intent to hold the workshop with it already finessed. It was something that I was hoping to have council provide feedback on so that we would have direction for town staff. But having said that, I trust that you've had a chance to look over the draft that was sent. And thank you for printing in red because it makes it very easy to follow. Does anybody want to start the discussion, ask a question? Commissioner Hoover?
Yeah, I'm trying to compare my notes and the red line here item as well at the same time, but I think they're close enough to be. So let's see. Section. I'm good with all the definitions. I honestly didn't read all through all of them, but substandard or substandard. Let's see, general requirements. 8.04030, item C. My only concern there still would be the same as that. If I understand it correctly, that's what I want to make sure is that so anybody that's renting a property, whatever that is, that property, if it's if it's an older property, newer property, whatever, has to be, according to this, made into the current day's building code standards from Frederick County Building Code.
That is correct.
Which is probably going to disqualify
Mhm.
most everybody,
Mhm.
if not everybody. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, after.
I know we're
yeah.
not looking to disqualify. everybody,
Yep,
but
after discussions with the town attorney and we all, at least on the staff level and her level, if the goal of this ordinance is health and safety of your residents, then there shouldn't be any exceptions. Shouldn't be any serious exceptions to the building standards, if that's your goal. If your house, your rental property can't meet current building standards, then you can't rent. And that's the way it is in Hagerstown. If you can't meet the current building standards, you don't rent in Hagerstown. So that's the staff and town attorney's viewpoint. Obviously, the board is welcome to do what they want, but that's
Okay.
basically if the goal is health and safety, then your exemptions need to be limited.
Does that go in contrast to section I though?
So the only exceptions, so it does, and that was put in there based off of what the board had asked for. That's not something that town staff and the town attorney, that's nothing that we would have put in, but it was based off discussions that we had with the board at the last meeting. If that is something the board would adopt, the only two exceptions that we had discussed were the size of the bedroom. That cannot be an exception. It's 70 square feet with a minimum of 7 feet in one direction, and it has to have a window because you don't want people renting out a closet and saying it's a bedroom or something so small you can't even move in it. So if the board would like to keep I, that would be the two exceptions that we think.
I think, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hoover, I feel like
Go
this.
go ahead, because I was part of my question, but go ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like the discussion came up with Mayor Davis asking about sprinklers, correct? Is like,
For any, when you're talking about major renovations, it doesn't mean that somebody's gonna go in and go, this door in Commissioner Hoover's house, since it's so old, is only 30 inches and it needs to be 36. You gotta make it bigger. It doesn't mean that. Because that's impossible. Like you say, that would take the whole town.
But that is my issue because it is the current building standard.
Right,
And that is
and
what
that
we're
only
mandating.
takes effect if you do major renovations. If you do a renovation of over 60%, I think it is, then you've got to you have to sprinkle. The Ott property is a very good example because he did so much, that building had to be sprinkled. It had to meet the current code. If he'd have come in and replaced windows or did something like that, it would not have to meet the current standard because the houses built back in the 1800s are not going to meet the 2025 standards.
Right, yeah.
that's Right.
what it says in I.
Right,
Yeah.
so we're not
That's
gonna be, going in and measuring your doors and go, hey, you gotta make them 6 inches wider.
Right.
Now, if you do a major renovation, what this does is makes you meet safety regulations. So, you gotta have windows in your houses. You can't, have a
Okay.
water coming down through the roof. So,
So my bigger issue of I is it's there's no clear that's the items we're talking about, meaning like other things like Kathy, you just said, like the two things that you would allow as exceptions, the one was, I forget what they were, but that you wouldn't do is the children's, the bedroom size and things like that. So you could easily list those couple things, but in a house being a certain age, within what age is that house and what exemptions are we not going to accept or reject or what have you? Because what I do at the Hoover's house, and what I do at, I don't know, maybe the Davis's house, whatever it might be, a different person, a different opinion, and a different,
Well, that's
why if you criteria. look at
That's
That's what-
it actually has where you would list out what exemptions the board would be willing to accept. And it would be
Okay.
listed in your code.
okay,
So there is so it's fair
So-
across the board. There's no discretionary.
okay.
I'm gonna allow you to keep this door at 30, but I'm not gonna let you do it. The board would have the discretion to put in here what they wanted. So it's fair across
So
the
then-
board.
So then those things would be outlined as part of the ordinance.
Right,
then,
right.
Or at least that's what you're
Yes,
asking or
yes.
suggesting. Okay, all right, then I'm better off with I now than I was. But with the
I think it
clarity.
would, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to make sure it had the clarity of it's not subject to an opinion, it's subject to this is the policy, or this is the ordinance, or whatever that's in place, that this is the one we follow.
Yeah, a good example would be, let's say all the businesses around the square, none of those are sprinkled, most of them don't even meet the handicap requirements because of the age, and they've been, they're not going to make you come in and try to meet a requirement that the building, can't. So it's not like we're gonna, come in and start shutting buildings down because, they're not sprinkled. But if they do a major renovation, well, then they have to.
But in Frederick County.
And that's Frederick County, right? Frederick County will say, you've gone over the limit. Now you have to sprinkle the building. Now you have to make the doors a certain width. Now you have to allow for handicap accessibility.
Right.
Smoke detectors and things like that should not be waived. You got
Correct.
working smoke detectors.
Right.
Since it's a workshop, is it okay if we piggyback?
Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to clarify, I think you said a bedroom must have a window and be 70 square feet. Is that what you said?
Right, and it's gotta have a minimum of 7 feet in one direction.
7 feet in one direction.
Right.
And are both of those in the Frederick County Code?
They're in the Frederick County Code, which is based on the International Building Code. So it is in the Frederick County Code.
It is in Frederick
Yes.
County Code. Okay, perfect.
So that would be one of the exceptions we would consider is the
That
bedroom
would not be waived.
That would
would
not.
not be waived.
Right.
Okay,
Not waived.
understood. All right. So
And I think the window has to be a certain size, doesn't it? You have to be able to get at it.
Right.
Yeah, for emergency access.
Yeah, it's have to be 20 inches wide.
So I read I incorrectly. So basically I would be what you're not willing to waive. You could add a section on what your exemptions are. If it's based, but again, we want to limit the number of, how many exemptions you do allow to keep it based
Right.
on health and safety.
Right.
But on I, you would list out what will not be waived, such as the size of a bedroom, has to have a window, working smoke detectors.
So in order for us to, I guess we would have to refer that fact to the Frederick County building codes. Then is that something we can be provided with? Because maybe exempt from full compliance if the owner an exemption is subject to the following requirements may not be waived. Okay, well, if we do the following requirements may not be waived, that might be a really long list. Would it be
That'd be
easier to do the following requirements may be waived, since I would anticipate that might be a shorter list? Because if you list all the building codes that we are saying are important, that could be pretty extensive, right? It might be easier to do which ones that we're pulling out from. Just food for thought. You don't have to answer. It's just that way, would it, because I don't know, maybe
Well,
Mayor Davis.
I'm kind of thinking, I'm thinking out loud here. I think where that comes into play is there are probably going to be maybe 5 things that we would not waive. Because you don't want to say, what I want to say, such as, there could be small things. Like there's no way to make the door of the front of the house any bigger.
Because of the historical
Because,
nature.
right, and so you could, you could waive that, even though the code says if you remodel, you got to make it, 36 inches. Well, some of the fronts just, you can't do it, so that would be something you could waive. But, so you'd want it to be by code, and that would give the building inspector the opportunity to waive it and go, look, this is one that just can't meet, and the door just can't be made any bigger. But we wouldn't waive smoke detectors, or we wouldn't waive, so basically the stuff that you wouldn't want to waive would be the life safety things.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
So there's got to be a section of the code that is just that life safety within the Frederick County Code. There's got to be, I'm not sure, but it's got to be something that life safety section versus electrical versus plumbing versus whatever. Is that right? I'm thinking.
Are you asking if we already have?
I'm asking
that?
if Frederick County has that.
Frederick County has that in
The
their
life
building
safety
code,
section.
life safety
So
section.
maybe
yeah.
that's the section that you just don't waive, the life safety. I'm not sure what all's in that. So before we,
You would have to have a copy of it to take a look.
yeah, we'd want to look at that, but that might be the section that you say cannot be waived. And that's, and then the rest maybe, I think that's the goal is to meet.
Yeah, the whole thing is about health and safety. I
Right.
mean, this isn't about telling you what color to paint your house or anything like that. It's
Right.
about life safety and, looking out for the neighbors of these properties that aren't being taken care of. And, to be fair to them.
I mean, a quick Google brings up all the key aspects of it. Smoke detectors, fire suppression, fire extinguishers, emergency access, address posting, fire alarm systems, things of that nature.
On your life safety, your biggest concern is gonna be there, Mr. Mayor, is gonna be, is the sprinkler. So what is that? And of course,
That's subject to major renovation. If you don't
Yeah,
do a
right.
major renovation,
Okay.
you don't need sprinklers.
Right.
okay, well,
So if you're gonna put in new ceilings in that, you don't need sprinklers. If you're gonna gut it down to the rafters and, new bits. I'll go back to the, op property. That was a major renovation. If you go by, you'll see the sprinkler hooked up on the front of the building. So that one had to be sprinkled, which
Is there a percentage of renovation or a dollar value that triggers that, or what's the trigger?
normally 50%.
I'm thinking 50, 60%. I'm shooting up from the hip.
It's,
but
Right.
it's normally 50. Regardless of how that 50 came about. There's been an accident, there's been the desire to do it or whatever, doesn't
Right.
matter. 50% is the normal number.
I mean, you could easily write that the life safety regulations are will not be waived.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure the house in Pembroke that
Burned down.
had to burn down. I think you'll find that's probably sprinkled now. Should be sprinkled.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, Brookfield, I think most all Brookfield already was.
But
Would
the
it-
Frederick County code has that percentage in there.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And it'd go by the Frederick County
Right.
Building Code. So,
Would we,
50%? What was it?
It's normally 50. I mean, they may have changed it since then, but normally it's 50% no matter where you go.
That would be classified as a major structural modification.
That you bring your house up to 100% standard. Well, that at least the space that you're overhauling.
would it be possible next time we look at this? I mean, I know we can Google it, but that seems like something that we could have as part of the packet for reference, just to make sure can go down and
Just the life safety standards, because the building code is like, what, 100 pages? 1,000 pages, sorry.
okay, so current. All right, so are we differentiating between D and I between life safety and building codes? Or are they referring to the same thing? So D says current building standards, meaning building codes. And are those different than the life and
Your
safety
life safety is gonna be within the building code.
within the building code?
It could be a section of it, a chapter of it.
So then that goes back to if it's 1,000 pages, the following may not be waived.
Right.
I'm a little concerned that may not be waived is going to fit in a really short list compared to what Frederick County
Well,
requires.
like I say, we'd have to look at that to find out.
Yeah, because, part of my.
How
concern
serious
like-
is that? How serious?
Right.
Is it a paragraph or is it an encyclopedia size?
Right,
I don't
right,
know.
right.
Yeah, because I'm concerned, like, say they have life safety for the size of bedroom windows. We have a house that's over 100 years old. You're not necessarily going to be that 20-inch wide. That's the requirement. You may be 18.
I'm sorry, did everybody get the email that was sent on Friday at 11:25 that talks about, scroll up, please. Standards for habitable spaces. it's an outline of the International Residential Code, International
Oh.
Building Code, International Plumbing Code, and Frederick County's Minimum Livability Code. That basically has it all in there
Okay.
of what would apply to rental properties.
Yeah, I got it.
Friday at 11.
Yeah, I printed it out. The only thing is it says, please note that this is a basic summary of requirements and does not include a complete list of requirements. I mean, can we come up with some sort of checklist that the code enforcement officer or whomever would use? And something that we could hand out to residents and to say, this is what we're looking for,
Well, we would, once we know what we're looking for.
that we will include that.
That will be obvious, that will be a checklist that's done when when it's eventually rolled out. But we kind of need an idea.
And just so you know, the Fire and Life Safety Code is broken down into existing structures and new structures. So if there's an existing daycare that's been there forever, their requirements will not be the same as if somebody went out tomorrow and started to build a new one. The requirements would be much, much different. So fire code is broken down into existing and new constructions, if that helps any.
And Mayor Davis, maybe you know this, I don't know with technology today, if building codes or the life and safety standards tend to change over time, or have they been pretty,
Oh, no, they change
the time.
yearly. Almost every year you'll get a addendum to put
okay.
into your life safety codes and your fire codes.
So maybe that's something we could put in there, a little blurb about it's subject to change based on, I don't know though.
Well, they shouldn't on existing structures. Just like when the town adopted the sprinkler ordinance,
Okay,
anything existing, no sprinklers, not needed. Anything new must. So there's two different codes
oh,
for
okay.
existing and for
All
new.
right, so I was just talking about the existing.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
So Frederick County has what they call a minimal livability code that establishes minimum standards for condition and maintenance of residential structures to protect public health, safety, and welfare. It focuses on basic equipment and facilities like light, ventilation, heating, and sanitation, as well as safety measures. Sounds like that's more in line of following that as opposed to build the 1,000 pages of building code that probably don't pertain to most of this. And I think that's mostly what Julia highlighted in that document she sent out last week.
Okay.
So it looks like the document that you sent, Najila, the City of Frederick rental registration license. So this is kind of what it looks like we were trying to do is, it says rental housing units subject to this article must be maintained in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations, including but not limited to the minimum maintenance standards as described below. So that would be kind of what we were looking at providing here, Mayor Davis, is the minimum maintenance standards.
Yes, basically minimum maintenance and more importantly, the life safety. Yes.
Okay. So it's interesting to see what they have pulled out from that document. Is it possible to have that printed for us to look at as we discuss?
Frederick County Minimum Livability Code.
Is that
Is
different?
that the one you're talking about printing?
This one is ordinance, geez, it's so small, G-22-12, the one that was attached to the email. An ordinance concerning rental registration licensing for the purpose of establishing minimum maintenance standards for rental housing units in the city of Frederick. Are you looking at one that has a different title than that?
Oh, no, sorry. I was referring to what was listed under the standards. You're talking about the city of Frederick.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at the one that was linked in the email from Friday. And it shows you what Frederick City has as their minimum requirements. Anyways, So that's could be a good starting point if we're looking to narrow it down.
So we need to develop a list of minimum requirements.
Yes. Is there anything, well, we'll wait until maybe we can get copies of that and then go down that path. How about that? Let's wait until we have copies so that everybody can see what's in front of them. Commissioner Hoover, did you want to continue with that point?
Sure. Item G. Any rental unit must have a safe path of travel for egress and ingress to the rental unit and exterior of the dwelling unit. Failure to maintain safe path of travel shall constitute a violation of the ordinance. So is that just talking about having I guess, a clean or a reasonably clean, I guess, interior and exterior that we're, bunch of debris, not, what exactly is that saying?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So item G talks about having a safe path of travel, interior and exterior. So is that talking more about, so we don't have a bunch of debris or stuff inside and outside of the property, giving people
That's,
the sidewalks clear to get it, or whatever your pathway is in your house. to get
it's
it?
just like
Stairwells,
stairwell.
stairwells up and down apartments should
Right.
be colored boxes.
Storage is, here again, that's against fire code. Storage, you gotta, you should have
Okay.
36 inches
Okay,
of egress and,
We could probably take out G and just include it in the list of minimum requirements.
and then just 10 rental units that have not.
They do have, yeah, Frederick City has a list of exterior, well, is this exterior and interior? I would imagine safe path outside and inside.
That's what it
Okay.
says. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Check all my notes or my questions here. Yeah, we done that one. So item A. So now item A in the revised sheet.
What page are you on?
8.04.040 rental registration. Any rental unit that is occupied at the time of the adoption of this chapter may continue to be occupied even if substandards, so long as that does not constitute an unsafe structure as defined by the Frederick County Building Code. So then it just returns back to the building code. Frederick County Building Code, such units will be issued a provisional rental permit valid only for the current tenants in possession of the rental unit at the time of the adoption of the ordinance. Landlords will be granted a maximum of 6 months to bring the rental unit properties into compliance. So that's telling me that if there's somebody already renting the property, then that tenant or that owner we find a house that's not up to standard, we'll get up to 6 months one time to bring it into whatever, the full compliance at the end of what this ordinance is,
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
so we're not gonna throw anybody out on the street.
which will probably be, again, back to most of the properties. Okay, all right.
In that case, will the provisional permit also be valid for 6 months?
That is right.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that we just need to clarify that because it says valid for the current tenants versus 6 months.
Yeah, so if the current
It's
tenant
either
leaves,
or.
it goes.
Right, so if the tenant moves out, then they can't turn around and rent it to somebody else until it's in compliance. So it's an either or. If your current tenant stays for 6 months, that's fine. But if that tenant moves out, then you can't turn around and rent it to somebody else as long as it's substandard.
But if the tenant doesn't move out,
Then it's valid for 6 months.
Right. It's whichever comes first, tenant moving or the 6 months expired.
gotcha.
And have we identified substandard?
Frederick County Code.
We have.
So if it doesn't meet the code or an exception, it's considered substandard?
If it doesn't meet the code, where was it?
Page 2.
Page 2, yeah. Any deficiency in a dwelling unit or room under the applicable Frederick County Building Code or the requirements set forth in this ordinance.
On section C of eight, well, it's on page 3, on 8.04.030 general requirements. Right, all rental units must comply with the current building standards and codes in effect at the time of the inspection. The code housing official are we referring that back to the code enforcement officer?
So we defined housing official on page 1. And that would be a person designated by the town. So it could be the code enforcement officer. If the code enforcement officer can't do it, then somebody else who's been designated. So that was the idea behind it.
Right. We might end up having more than one person trained.
Okay, so maybe it should just say housing official instead of code housing official, so it matches the name of the definition. Officials, or with the parentheses S. Anyways, shall be permitted on the property in the event any credible violation is alleged. What is the definition of credible in that case?
I don't think we added that definition.
I would think if there's any shoot, I lost it. If there is an alleged violation, why wouldn't any of it be followed up on to make sure it is or isn't credible? Isn't that what we would follow up on?
Well, I think that is followed up on. It should be, let me read where I'm at. All rental and codes in effect at the time of the end, the housing official shall be permitted upon the property in the event any credible violation is alleged.
But if somebody's saying inside they don't have this, this, and this, the only way to check it is by going inside. Right now, if you say there's not enough windows, they could easily see that outside. Okay, let me.
That was recommended by Leslie on that. I would have to ask her why. That sentence was written by Leslie, so I would ask her why if there's a legal reason why she put that in there, which is possible.
Yeah, I think credible typically is offense. So a neighbor just to harass you and keep reporting stuff that doesn't exist. So if you've been called out 4 times for saying there's no stairways in the house, this is no longer credible. You've inspected it once, there's stairways there. If somebody's calling in once a month on that, you don't have to go in.
Well, then that makes sense. But it would also make sense that the code enforcement officer has probably been out there to see this firsthand. And they're like, well, that doesn't match up with what I say. And if that's what we're getting to the root of, maybe we can just define that somehow, because I feel like that can be subjective, credible. What makes it credible? Because maybe this person does make a lot of complaints, and maybe some of them weren't valid, but maybe one of them is, and wouldn't want it to go unrecognized. So I would definitely like to ask Leslie for a definition of credible if we're going to keep it in there.
Yeah, credible definitely has a legal definition. I can't tell you what it is, but it's definitely, to draw that from a nuisance.
Okay. Going up to the definitions of absentee landlord and agent, I noticed that it was changed so that the absentee landlord, instead of residing outside Frederick County, now it's saying outside of the state of Maryland. That feels very I would. I'm confused as to why that was changed when other ordinances have absentee landlords as people who are not living in town or within a certain mile radius.
This was another change suggested by the town attorney, so you can ask her why she did that, yeah.
Why don't we know that though? How are these changes made and we don't know that right now?
Because she had been out of town and under the weather, and we got a last minute meeting with her on Thursday at 3 o'clock. And then got this final draft on Friday, late afternoon. So that's why.
Okay, we'll just recall too that we didn't ask for any marked up. This was supposed to be a brainstorming session. So when we go back to her, I don't know, how do other commissioners
Here's
feel on this?
my
Because
concern of what the general purposes of having an agent. My impression is you want a landlord or a registered agent within somebody that can be physically on site within 48 to 72 hours.
I think that's too long. If you look at other ones, they're like,
They typically
would
are in the
want them-
county.
right, within the county, not within the state.
Yeah, I would prefer
Not
to see it within the
51.
county.
Not,
I would like to see it within the county.
I think you got to take into consideration Pennsylvania. We're a mile both ways from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and
I was gonna
also
say, our-
Thermont, when I was at MML, Thermont also said that a lot of their properties in town were owned by people from California and, all over the place.
doesn't matter who the owner is. there
And they
has to be an
couldn't, they had a
agent.
heck of a time finding the agent or person who represented them too, wasn't even in the,
Yeah, doesn't
Right.
ma-
they had
Doesn't
a
matter
heck
who,
of a
doesn't
time.
matter who owns it, just as long as there's an agent locally.
Right,
But I
Yeah.
agree, somebody said here a minute ago that mileage or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like Mr. Mayor just said that for where we're at, the county
Could be a radius.
ends quickly.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
draw a line and say within 45, 50 miles.
Yeah, Gettysburg has a 40-mile radius, but we can consider 40, 50 miles or something that would get us way down
I
into
think,
Montgomery
Yeah,
County too.
because if somebody just lives in Gettysburg, they're closer to us than Frederick than if they lived in Brunswick.
Right,
Right.
Right.
so maybe we want to consider a
Right.
mileage
be-
radius.
Because of our
or-
proximity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gettysburg and Frederick City both use mileage ranging from 40 to 60 miles. Because if you use Maryland, then somebody could live, the agent could live on the Eastern Shore. It'd be 4 hours from us.
right.
So if you use mileage, we'd have somebody potentially a lot closer.
I would think 60 miles that's a pretty big range, but still doable that they could be here.
How many?
Huh?
How many?
60?
Oh.
Gettysburg said 40, but I was thinking, because we're so many miles from anything anyway. So let's try to,
I drive 65 to go to work.
oh, there you go. See?
I make it every day.
So if you increase the radius, at least whether that's in Pennsylvania or, I don't know, maybe they have an agent up in Fairfield. Hmm.
Yeah, I'd rather see it's, that mileage so we can draw that circle from, say, the center of town and say, and, you got to have an agent within this distance, somebody that can physically be here.
So I agree. So then going back to, I would imagine does the agent ties in with the absentee landlord or no? Wait a minute.
Yeah, so if it's an either or, somebody's got to be within that distance if we dictate it, whether an agent or the landlord themselves.
So maybe we could change absentee landlord to a radius as well, if they are outside
Yeah, they would
a
both need to be
mileage.
changed.
radius.
Well, what if you just made whatever your outside radius is, say 60 miles,
Mhm.
your representative had to be within 60 miles. So just
Yeah, just
reverse
flip
instead of
flop.
outside, inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's either landlord or agent has to be within that distance. Doesn't matter which one, as long as somebody is.
Yeah, it's funny because within 60 miles, you can be in 4 different states:
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia.
mhm.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she eliminated the one on, has to be within Frederick County because we're so close to the line. So a radius might make more sense. Um, For rental permit, where it says any special circumstance or conditions under which occupancy is permitted shall be specified on that permit. What type of special circumstances are we trying to cover that? That was in the last one too, I think.
Which page?
I'm sorry, it's page 2
two.
under the definition of rental permit. Is that more like going back to? I have no idea what that would be.
Would those be the exemptions?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's something it would be good to get clarification on. I mean, I would, if it's the exemptions, we should just say that. The exemptions. Because if there's other extenuating circumstances.
It could also be the one that was, I don't forget what it said, the one that's only valid for 6 months. That would be a special circumstance. So maybe that if it's a time thing that's only valid for the 6 months, that would be noted on there.
So maybe it's just a matter of referencing the other parts, the other sections, such as outlined in blank or blank. So that we know what it's referring to. What do you think? Anybody else think of special circumstances?
Well, I mean, I think there should be a list of exemptions or circumstances that would allow a permit if it didn't meet.
Well, we have the, in here already, we have, where is it, where's the 6? The 8.04.040 A, which talks about they have 6 months or, to bring it, so that could be a special circumstance. And then we have the, oh, here it is. 8.04.030, which is on page 3, section I, where we list out may not be waived. No, wait a minute. Maybe exempt from, yeah, so that could be a special exception for circumstance, I would imagine.
Amy, asking, what, this rental permit, you're asking
So
the items that
on the definition,
yes.
so when it says, I'm asking any special circumstances or conditions under which occupancy is permitted shall be specified on the permit. I'm just trying to figure out what those special circumstances are referring to. Because normally it will say, refer back to this section or this section. If we have, it sounds like we have 2 different sections.
I'm trying to follow both of these papers, but there's only going to be one place for us to allow special circumstances of, that you don't meet it, but you passed anyway. So all of those things that we say, the door, back to the door, if it doesn't meet it, then it has to be listed on that permit.
Right, and then the section that says we're going to allow you to continue to live there for 6 months.
Then you have that provisional
Right,
rental permit.
right. Oh, so that would trump this one. All right, so maybe we just need to be more specific on
Am I
circumstances.
saying that correctly? You would have that same permit, but it'd be provisional. It would be a 6 month instead of a 3 year.
That's written.
Okay,
Just to clarify, major renovation is 50%.
oh, okay, thank you.
I was looking up codes and you all thought I was watching the Six of Hearts. I know.
Did it hit?
No,
Oh,
Oh, but he knew that answer.
it was a test.
it was on the Frederick County website.
Oh, there you go.
Right at the top, wasn't it? Right in the building, so code section.
Um, looking at the permit is required for each dwelling unit. We're looking at at the top of page 4. Section B. It originally said 5 years and it was revised down to 3. I would be in favor of seeing it even lower, maybe down to 2, if not 1. That seems to be more in line with the other municipalities who have them, who do them annually. And we don't have to, I don't know what anybody else thinks.
I haven't been watching the other jurisdictions so closely as to know what they do 1 year, 3 years, 5
Mhm.
years, 20 years or whatever. I think the 1 year from my opinion, or whatever is down to 1 year is just gonna be too aggressive
Mhm.
for the property owners as well as the town staff. The 5 year, when we talked about it before, I think is the reason it got changed to 3 is that the 5 seemed to be far out there. And 3 was that, at that moment, a happy medium.
City of Frederick is 2
I'm-
years.
I'm- You know,
Gettysburg, 1 year.
I just think 1 year is just for the owner, the property owner. If you only own one, it's one thing, but if you own a multiple dwelling units, whether it's multiple units or one building that got multiple in it, I think the inspections will be much of a burden if you do it annually. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is I like the 3 year because I think the burden gets shifted and shared a little bit to where, not all of them are done in the same year, trying to do the whole town every year.
Yeah, I think just doing it, having somebody go in and touch everything once a year would be troublesome at most.
Right.
Yeah, plus we have to remember we're not hiring any more staff, so this is going to be an add-on for
Yeah.
the current staff. To where these other municipalities have their own inspectors. That's all they do is do these
Yeah.
inspections. So you got to
So-
take that into consideration.
I think we also talked about, if I recall, maybe there's a possibility if they pass inspection in year 1, that they don't need to have another inspection the following year, but just submit the paperwork. That way it's not running back out when you saw them not that long ago.
But if you're submitting the paperwork, that's just a revenue generator at that point.
Yeah, it is. But it
So
also,
if you want to do that, raise taxes. Be open about
would you
it.
let me,
Yeah.
let me finish, because part of the reason why I say that is because I would like to see us to consider adding to the document. As far as what's included in here that would give the town pertinent information if they have complaints to follow up on with the unit. Looking at Gettysburg, they allow a list of tenants to be submitted. So that's something we don't ask for, although it's well within the town's right to do so. And that kind of it got me thinking as far as, I know the town was very against having a list of tenants, but then it goes back to, we just passed student rental or student housing. How would you even identify where they are? And I know the response was complaint driven, but if we don't know who's in our rentals or how many people are in our rentals, how do we know they're within the code? Because part of the code says there's only going to be 1 or 2 or whatever the number is per bedroom. Okay, but shouldn't that be part of the inspection, is to know how many people are in that space? So that it's not over capacity, over living capacity of what's considered safe. Because that could come, that could change as tenants come and go. That could be a life safety issue if we have 5 people living in 1 bedroom.
No, it definitively is, but that goes back again to the means of enforcement. Our enforcement is primarily going to be driven by complaints, is my understanding, when somebody complains about something.
But we also have the means to find out the information before it gets to a complaint by asking for the residents who are living there and comparing it and the number of bedrooms. So maybe that goes back to what does our rental application even look like? What are we asking for?
So what, just as what if, and I can't say if I apply for my rental application, a renting unit, and I don't have renters yet, I get it approved for renters, and 2 months later I have renters. Do I have to come back and fill out more paperwork then and say, these are my renters?
Why would that be?
It's just a
troublesome? Yeah,
hypothetical.
why not? Why can't you submit the list of people who are staying in your building? They have a list of that,
Yeah.
I would think. I would know who's in my buildings. If you don't, I would think that's problematic. And that's how we get to troublesome properties is when things like that aren't maintained. And if we do have absentee landlords who aren't affected by how they rent out the properties.
Well, the application will be, that'll be one thing it'll take care of. There will not be absentee landlords or representatives. That's something we don't have now, but now we know we'll know who to get a hold of and how to get a hold of these people. I don't know if you make this too cumbersome to the property owners, I don't think you're going to get their buy-in. When we really don't care who is living there, we're caring more, is it safe for someone to live there? I don't care if they're a college student or a 70-year-old senior citizen. I want to make sure it's safe for them to be there. And we can have a 70-year-old senior citizen cause us problems the same as we could a high school or a college student. So we really don't care, but we know who to get a hold of if we have that problem.
I agree. I agree that we can have problems from anyone, and bringing up student housing is not meant to focus on that population. I used it as an example because there is a distance clause in student housing, which I have no idea how this town is even going to figure that out if you don't know where they are, because it's not stipulated on what type of unit you are renting out. Like, is it stipulated that this is going to be used for student housing? This is going to be for a family unit?
I think we could ask for that, but I don't think we need to have the names of the people that are living there.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't have a vote, so just my opinion.
I think that's a compromise.
As a property owner, as a renter, a rental owner, I would be very comfortable telling you if I'm putting students in there.
Yeah, I think are you renting rooms as opposed to renting the entire unit in totality?
Right.
I think that's a legitimate way to find that out.
Right.
I agree.
It's the type of rental that you have.
I
Is it
agree.
like a family unit? Is it a renting by room? Because we have all these different definitions.
Well, and here again, that's a life safety thing, because
Right.
if we have a house that is renting by rooms and we get there and there's a fire and we go to
Mhm,
who is renting a room, is everybody out? Yep, it was just me.
mhm.
Okay, he's not talking about the other 6 rooms that were just rented
me
out.
in my
So
room.
just me in my room. And, so now fire department's gonna say, hey, everybody's out. And it might change the way we would address the situation, but
Yeah.
so
no.
yeah, that's a very important thing to know.
Even if they put the number of tenants, that could help figure out who's, that's not to say anyone couldn't have guests over at a time. of a
Right,
fire.
or, during the summer, my tenant has grandchildren staying with her all summer.
Mhm,
So that goes from 1 to 3,
mhm.
and then now I'm back down to 1. So it can fluctuate.
Maybe more like permanent residents.
Yeah, as
instead.
opposed to the guests. You don't want to get in to the guests that are staying
No.
there for a month. But I think it'd be reasonable to say, what's the rental? Are you renting, to 5 individuals, a family unit? or anything. Is I'll go back. I once had the fire department come into my house because of carbon monoxide poisoning. The first thing they want to check is how many people are here and make sure they got them all out, because they tore the house up looking for my one daughter that didn't live there at the time because my one daughter said, "Yeah, I have a sister." So it is helpful to have that for a life safety reason, at least the numbers.
It would be good because my husband actually, when he was in his 20s, was living in a townhouse where the townhouse next to him burned fully down. Of course, then part of his townhouse is on fire. All his roommates got out. I'm standing there watching everything. He slept through the whole thing. Firefighters came in to see. Now he woke up. He's like, where are the neighbors?
Where's the wall?
Where's the wall? So yeah, it might be helpful just to have numbers and the type of unit that it is. I just think for ease of use, for knowing what,
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add on to that, as part of the application process, they need to identify if it's for a single family rental or if it's a boarding house or a rooming house, because rooming house and boarding house are only permitted, or boarding house is only permitted in the village zone. So if we have people in Silo Hill saying, I'm renting out 5 individual rooms to unrelated people
Code
on
vol-
different leases, that's not permitted.
Right, you got another code violation unrelated to this.
Yeah, so I mean, we have to follow the zoning regulations, and to follow the zoning, we have to know how they're renting it. Is it rented to a single family or individual rooms? And then we're gonna have a lot of permits that get denied because they don't meet the current zoning regulations, and I'm really concerned about that. I mean, how are we gonna handle that?
I think it goes down. I think it's going to be difficult that a lot of people aren't going to register. And how do you find them? Are we going to sit there and go through all the rental listings, that are out there and say then, hey, have they registered or?
And if they are renting out individual rooms, do they have a change of occupancy permit? I mean, there's gonna be a lot that goes into this.
is one of those needed when you turn over tenants, a change of, or only if the building itself changes?
Right, I think, no, Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, only if the store it goes from a grocery store to an insurance agent. It changed the use of the building.
Or if I see what you're saying. You're saying like if it goes from a single family home to a boarding house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would need a change of occupancy.
Right.
So you would have to know how they're renting out the property in order to determine if they meet the zoning requirements.
Well, unfortunately, I think we're gonna be depending on the property owners to be upfront and honest. It's almost like, well, some of the apartment buildings are gonna be very, very obvious. Our problem properties are very obvious what they are.
Mhm.
You have some units for B&Bs in town. I know a couple that are rented out and all winter long because they live in Florida in the wintertime and come home in the summertime, But they rent their house out or whatever it is to as a B&B.
Don't we have,
But that's not a zoning change.
No.
It's still a residential dwelling unit. or whatever.
do we have anything in the code right now that addresses short-term rentals like that, or we don't differentiate? Nothing.
We don't have anything as of this time, no.
Okay.
No, and as a matter of fact, any municipality that I've seen has tried to do that. It didn't go through. Ocean City was the latest that was gonna try to do that, and it wasn't good. It wasn't pretty.
It sounds like it's probably already covered under the current registrations.
See, their rental will change every week.
Sure, it could be every couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that kind of goes into another section that might be nice to have in here. I know Mayor Davis, you said at the beginning it was good to have the protections for our tenants to make sure they're safe in a livable space, but also protections for our neighbors. So I would like to see sections in here that for like our purpose for the rental registration to include, well, I'm sorry, I need to get my glasses on again. Where does it say purpose? So looking at the purpose right now, it says for the purpose of promoting and assuring safety, health, and habitability of rental housing in the town of Emmitsburg, but to, add something similar to, this order, the purpose is also to have our owners, property managers, and tenants and residents, temporary or not, to have the right to peaceful enjoyment living here by adding sections that would disrupt or that would address disruptive or illegal behavior or grounds for revoking a rental registration. I'm thinking specifically of any property, no matter who's in there, that are we have continual disruptive complaints. Maybe they're selling drugs out of the house.
But you don't want that in the rental. You want that in the general zone. So like you just said, so it covers whether the property owner lives there or he's rented it out to Joe Schmo. So we'd want that in the general provisions of the code.
General provisions for rental?
Well, no, not rent. I think what you're asking for, or at least what I'm thinking is, if you had a nuisance neighbor, whether he's the homeowner or a rental from the homeowner, you'd want to have that provision to be able to. You can't throw the homeowner out of his own home, but
Right.
Yeah.
create.
Once you pierce that quiet enjoyment,
but you
there's
have-
legal remedies for that already.
But there's
That's-
still, right, but there's still violations within the code,
Right.
and where our code doesn't apply, then federal county code can
Correct.
apply.
But what we don't have is what others have is the safety of, they keep getting fines from the county or whatnot. It continues to happen. It becomes a problem. It becomes a nuisance.
Okay,
We have no control over that if they're just happy with paying the fines, especially if they're not living in town. So,
Commissioner, I have written something like that came to the board many, many years ago before most of you were here. It was not successful, but I can share that with you. And it actually was written to address every house, not just
Correct.
rental houses in town. So I can send you what was written years ago to see if that's what you're talking about. And it
Okay.
was in a different section of the code because it did cover everybody, not just rental properties.
Okay, yeah, because I would be interested in seeing that.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Because like you said, if we can't kick a homeowner out, what other course of action do we have?
courts.
And then, but for rental, we would have a course of
don't know.
action if we put it in here that if you continually get cited, that we can revoke the rental registration.
But like I say, I think we want to have that, just like Commissioner Hoover said, we want to have that in a general ordinance somewhere that it takes care of every property. Because one of our biggest offenders is the homeowner lives there. And
Right.
it's the one that just paid the $40,000 in fines last
Mhm.
year. And guess what?
Mhm.
We're racking our back up again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because that's all the court will let you do.
Correct.
And here again, who's suffering? The neighbors. The
I-
neighbors are.
I agree,
Yeah.
because we can't do anything other than take him to court. Is there something more, Ms. Willets, in yours that would have had other,
It did. It
okay.
did.
I mean,
I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah.
And obviously it was still in very draft form. So,
Okay,
but it did have some repercussions for it. And you could also add in that you could revoke their rental registration if they're in violation of this section of code as
Mhm.
well. But I'll send it out.
that would be good because, I'd like to see what you
Mhm.
proposed. It'd be interesting, but I agree. It doesn't matter who's there. If you're problematic and you're disrupting the peace and
Nuisance is nuisance.
nuisance is nuisance. That's why it's not in the student housing. It's here. I brought it up for rental, but I agree, even if you're a homeowner, you should abide by the same rules. But I guess my point in bringing it up here is that before we put this in place, we are in a position to write it in. If the council wants to, that if there's repeated offenses and it's a nuisance property and it's a rental, the town reserves the right to revoke that rental registration.
Right, so
Now-
after 4 offenses, we can revoke, as it's written now, it says after 4 offenses. And each day that offense occurs is a separate offense. So say if it's just extra garbage and it sits there for 5 days, that's 5 offenses as currently written.
Mhm.
That would be grounds to revoke their rental license.
So maybe it just comes after the fee is after so many times, it's just a revoke of license. Or maybe that might be the easiest way to.
Yeah, because I mean, we have in there that, you know, after the 4th violation, we can revoke the rental permit.
Where do we have that? Is that in there
That's in
already?
That's
section 60
your penalty.
and section on subsection B.
Wait, what's that? What page are you on?
Section, it's,
4,
Last
page
page.
4.
Do, do,
Oh,
do,
60.
do, do.
yeah, 060 violations and penalties.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That's awesome. Never mind. But either way, Miss Willis, I'd love to see what you proposed before. Gosh, you should have started, Najila, you should just been like, hold on a hot second there, President.
And that section C
Fine.
that runs it up every day makes those run out relatively quickly.
Yeah, I think thank you for putting that in because I think that that's something, hopefully it doesn't come to it.
And I think the attorney had suggested a warning before a
For the-
fine.
For the failure to register. So if you don't register, we don't necessarily fine you right. We give you a warning, hey, you need to register.
And then if you don't, and then there should be a time period.
Right.
You have 30 days to register. If not, then you get a $25 fine, right? And then what? After 60 days, it's going to go to 75. I mean, we just need to clarify how that's going to work.
Can we start with the first suggestion that you had, Commissioner Turnquist, where blah, 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 I'm gonna try that again in English, where the attorney suggested a warning. Counsel, how do you feel about having a warning before first offense, $25?
I think it's a warning for failure to register.
Correct.
I think we want to encourage registration. I think we can start, you know, we don't have to go out with a hammer right away
I
to
agree.
get people to
Yeah, I
register.
agree. Because technically, once we enact this, everybody's in violation. because we
Right.
have it. So,
So it's, you know, we find out, hey, you're renting, you haven't registered. We give them a warning and say, hey, you have
right,
X to register.
I'm okay with that.
That's great.
I like that idea.
Mhm.
But I would it make sense to, and Najila, I think we talked over email, trying to figure out, maybe it's something that we look at putting a timeline in here so town knows exactly, or is it already in here and I'm missing it again? Sorry, let me go back and look.
Timeline for,
For first offense,
Oh.
subsequent offenses. Is it subsequent offense goes up to $75? Does that mean like on day 2, or does that mean after?
Yeah,
30
by
days?
section C, since each day is a separate violation,
Mhm,
every day is going to be a new offense.
mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I wonder if we should have a little grace with that when we first roll it out.
I was just gonna ask, so once you first roll it out, so then somewhere in here, it's going to, in the beginning, it's going to say effective, I don't know, January 1st of
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah,
this code will go, this code will go in effect. So then everybody's given notice from July 1st to January 1st. You know, you got a 6-month grace period. know it's
To
gonna
get
happen.
registered and.
Get yourself ready.
Sure.
Because come January 1, if you haven't done so already, you'll be in violation.
mhm.
But then, you know, whether it's
How you getting-
30 days, 60 days, 180 days, whatever, but
If you don't-
advance notice. Say that again, say that again.
Yeah, everybody should get one in the order. I think everybody should get
Rental.
a rental registration time period and sent to them through the water bills. Because a lot of the buildings, you don't know who's renting, who's not. You know, some of the houses are rented, some of the,
Does
some of
water
the,
bill, does all the
duplexes are
water bills
rented.
go to the property owner?
Yeah,
Yes.
the
That way
code
they-
requires it to go property owners, not
Yes.
tenants.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one question I had. How are we gonna notify the public of the requirement?
We
So
can
that
notify
would
them
be a
on
good idea with water bills.
water bills or, and the, we have them online besides, the band, there's other places to do it, but at least they know they get it in their water bill. Everybody's got to get one, so.
And then if people don't register, which probably most won't, is it then only complaint driven? Or what if you know of a property where that you know is being rented?
Yeah, I
Probably
Is
think
it
it'd
gonna
be
be
a combination
proactive
of
with
both.
those properties or
both.
not?
I would say you'd be proactive if you know, I mean, our code enforcement officer, he's out and about all the time and, other staff members. That at that point, it probably would generate a letter or a door hanger or something to say that we know that you're a rental property. Here's the packet. You need to register. Call, come in, we'll help you.
Oh, the neighbors will let us know.
Well, that.
Trust me, the neighbors will let us know, yes.
I think also for those that and there are many of them that we do know.
Yeah.
It may be worth our benefit to send, go ahead and send that letter out in addition to the water bill. They get an additional letter
Right.
because it may get lost in the water bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still confused about the penalties for the violations. Failure to register as a landlord, I mean, that's already required, right? In section 804030.
Mhm.
In allowing occupancy without a valid registration, isn't that also part of 030? So it's a violation of 030, which is you have to register. You can't allow right?
Right.
I think number 3, violation of section 804030 covers 1 and 2. Like it's not a different thing. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, no,
So 1 and 2 is basically for if they don't register, and 3 is if they don't register and then they rent it out.
Oh, they continue to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
They ignore it. Knowingly ignore it.
And you have someone do
oh,
that.
I see what you're saying.
But if I fail to register, section 1 and 3 both apply. I don't think we need section 1 and 2 because it's all covered under 030.
Well, 1 is if you have to register if you intend to rent. 2 is actually once you put a body in your rental. So you can be in violation of 1 and not have occupancy and not be in violation of number 2.
Well, number 1
You
is
failed to-
covered under 030A. All landlords must register.
Right, that's number 1.
Okay, so that's also a violation of 804030.
Okay.
It's also 1 is covered in 030.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Okay.
But you don't want to make failure to register as a landlord a $500 first violation.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
But that is failure to register.
Yeah.
Prior to offering the rental unit for rent. Is also 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are included. I don't think I'm saying this right.
I'm so confused.
No, I understand.
1 and 2 are violations of the section.
Right.
So if I fail to register as a landlord, I have violated number 1. My first offense is $25. And I've also violated section 804030, which is number 3, first fine, $500 violation. It's for the same thing. You can potentially fine me 3 times for the same thing.
I'm not sure you need number 3. I think you leave 1 and 2 and take out 3, but I'd like to ask Leslie if maybe she's missing something in there that explains it a little bit better.
So if they don't register and they do rent it out, or they don't have the building up to code, isn't that a violation as well? So is that when number 3 apply for not having it up to code?
Yeah, I think we just keep number 3, but the violation amounts are too high.
Or if it's something different than the two above.
Yeah.
That's why I
think-
want to ask her because there's a reason why there's a different, the failure to register as a landlord and then allowing occupancy without a valid registration. So you don't have a valid registration because you haven't passed. You might have registered as landlord, but you didn't do your inspections and get your final permit, but yet you went ahead and rented anyway. So it's a
Yeah.
way you look at it, it's a more serious violation because you didn't do your inspection.
And I think number 3, she's getting at, all the other things, the path of travel's blocked and
Right.
everything else like that.
I'd like to clarify that one with her to see if I'm not understanding it or
If
she
you
left
have too
something
many
out.
people there, I think that's what number 3 is more than the registration. It's going after, the G, the H and L.
Yeah. So you get your registration, you get all your paperwork, and then you move 5 additional people in and you put boxes all the way up your stairwell or something. We get an additional complaint that then is a violation of that section there. Could be what she was in, what she meant, but again, I'd like to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think that could be solved. If that is the case, just saying the sections and, saying sections F, forward.
Right.
Are covered by those additional charges.
Yeah, it feels like 3 would be more intentional
Mhm.
violations is
Right.
what I'm gleaning,
Mhm.
which is why it would have a higher
Right.
fine. I'm okay.
What would be a higher violation?
No
Well,
safe
in your mind.
pace of travel.
But you don't know that because they haven't registered and the house hasn't been inspected. So how would you know that?
You wouldn't, those violations, that's why I said maybe we clean up the language and say those increased violations only apply to say section G, H, and L.
Right. No, you did. So what we're thinking is you did register as a landlord. You did get your registration. You had it inspected, and 6 months down the road, you don't have ingress, egress. You have 10 people living in one bedroom. That's exaggerated, obviously. But now you're in violation of some of the life safety standards that are captured in that section of the code. And that's where this violation comes in.
so it sounds like.
That's the way I read it. But again,
So it's almost like we also want to catch the people who not catch, that's the wrong word, but for people who might be trying to work the system, maybe they
Right.
registered and they got their registration, but then they're going to blatantly go against the code anyway.
I think that's what she meant. But again, clarify.
Okay.
I agree. It is a little confusing though, the way it's written.
Yeah, maybe just,
Mhm.
I don't know how to fix it, honestly.
And I think the violations amount are extreme, 500, 1,000, 3,000.
But those are the ones, we have to ask the lawyer.
Right, but it
That are
says each day a
intentional.
violation exists shall be considered a separate and distinct violation. So you could charge me $1,000 each day until it's corrected?
Well, I think it's, you put somebody in a bedroom and their window won't open for one reason or another. I think it happens, so now there's a fire and there's no way out. That's a serious, to me, that's a serious life safety violation. I think that's why the violations are so high for those things. That's why I think that's what she's talking about. is those that are failure to register.
And keeping them high, the landlords or whoever
They're
owns it
motivated
to fix it. Yeah, to come back and fix it quickly so they don't get in any more violation.
So it sounds like then, if we look at each day as a separate and distinct violation under section 3, where, we start with 500, then 1,000, then 3,000, by day 4, they've lost their rental permit. Okay.
And I think also what it does, it'll keep a property owner from basically thumbing their nose at you and go, I'm not fixing it. What are you going to do about it?
Right, yeah.
Well, Frederick City just took possession of properties on Market Street
Oh,
that did just that. I don't care. I
Wow,
don't care. So they're now Frederick City has some properties.
okay.
And we're not looking to do that. We want people to comply and make their things safe. But you're going to have those people that are just going to ignore us. unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's meant, I think, to grab your attention. If you're putting, you're willingly putting somebody's life in jeopardy, that the hammer needs to be there.
Well, and you also have these, if you ride through the county and see these beautiful properties that are sitting vacant and being overgrown with stuff, people are using those for tax write-offs.
Yeah,
Well, I don't care if they do that, just not in Emmitsburg.
yeah.
Right. Maybe, and I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to take C for the violation each day and combine it with the schedule above so that it's more clear, like first violation, I don't know, day one. But then it could also mean the second time they violate, not just days, correct? So it could mean two different timetables. Am I correct in that? You see what I mean?
I see what you mean, but the normal is every day.
Okay. Okay.
That'd be through your current town. Clean it up. Because otherwise, if you never clean it up, it would be a one-time violation. And just if you don't clean it, they can never get a second.
There can't be a second after the first. If they don't do it.
So if they don't fix the first one.
Oh, sorry.
If they never fix it, if they never fix whatever that violation is the first time, it just continues to be in violation. There
Oh,
may
okay.
not be a second one because you're still working on the first one, and that's why you see in here and in other codes and other jurisdictions where
Okay.
tomorrow it's an automatic second violation, third violation, or 50th violation, or whatever it may be.
Okay, so that,
Ignoring it does not make the violation, go away.
right. So let's say they ignore whatever code and they get a $500 violation. So then every day it's going to be a $500 violation.
No, on day one, it's gonna be $500. And in this case, the day two
Mhm.
is gonna be $1,000. Am I correct? That's the way you're interpreting it.
Okay, so that
And on
is.
day
correct.
three, it's gonna be $3,000. So by the end of the week,
You wrote $6,000.
he's gonna be poor.
Oh,
And with these
okay.
numbers, but so same thing if you didn't cut your grass.
okay.
Day one, if you get notified the day you didn't cut your grass, it's a whatever, $25 violation. Tomorrow, it's gonna be another $25 violation, more,
Okay.
but they just keep adding up. So, in 6 days, that grass cutting that cost you $25 is now $300.
Well, by day four, you've lost your rental permit.
Right.
Right, in this case, yes.
Okay.
So we don't have to fool with finding you anymore. We're just gonna take your permit away.
You're like that.
They can't
That's
get
it.
any money for their
No
permit.
recess.
The problem's gonna come there. Once I've lost the permit, how does that person get evicted? Do that.
Okay.
How do we,
It'll be a long
How do we- how do
court
we-
process.
Right, I mean, because we don't just pack up and say, okay, well, we got your $4,000. We're all satisfied. We're all satisfied. We're not gonna be satisfied. That's not the goal and the issue here is to let people max out and then say, now we can't violate. them.
Well, yeah, well, it eventually end up in court with all
Right.
these citations. You'd end up in court with the citations
So-
on our end.
So because then that means the $3,000 violation on day three. Day four, you get revoked, but do you still have financial violations daily of $3,000 adding up on a daily occurrence?
The
How
way
does
you
that
have
work?
it written, it doesn't. It'll just stop at the,
I don't think it should
Re-
stop. My point, because if you stop them, they're not gonna worry about doing it. They're gonna know maybe you'll be in a year before you go to court.
Because as long as that individual's living there or individuals,
Yeah,
whatever it
they're
is,
They're gonna still get money
there's
from
still a
them.
violation, whether he's been
But
revoked
how
or
do you
not.
enforce it if the fees keep racking up? How do you enforce it if they don't correct the violation? I mean,
End up-
other than
After the fourth,
And get a notice to abate.
yeah, after the
Right.
fourth.
you
day,
have to go to
after-
court.
Yeah,
you
that's
go to
what we
court.
do.
So
with-
while you're waiting on the court, his
Right.
fines are still building up.
Right.
So that when you go to court, you're going to show them that, he owes all this money for these fines because he.
And by
He
then,
still
you're-
rented. and-
and at these rates, you're soon have a lien on the house.
And that's how Frederick City got those properties,
And then they
Like,
can't
they're gonna
sell the
take-
house
they're gonna
without
take the
paying the lien.
property.
if I'm correct. That's right. Mary,
Yes.
that's how they end up, yeah.
Yes.
So then we
At some
would,
point, the fines became more valuable than the house.
so it wouldn't stop at day 4? Or is that what we're looking at? We continue the 3,000 as of day 4, it would be 3,000.
Yeah, you want.
I think that needs to be more clarified.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
on day,
I agree.
on day 3 and all subsequent days, it's $3,000 or whatever the number it is set for here in the end, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
as
what I would do. That would
class.
push them to go quickly. I mean, more, they want to get it resolved faster than then.
the higher the
wait,
amount, the
wait,
more
wait, wait.
incentive
Mhm.
to resolve the issue.
Right.
We'll
Okay,
get some clarification on that one also.
okay.
Talk to her.
I noticed that our plan doesn't have any appeal process.
We have asked that question. We don't have the answer from that one yet. Where does the appeal go? If there's an appeal, is there an appeal process? Does it go to the Board of Appeals? How does that work? That is one piece that we are waiting on the answer
I
for.
think that would go to the court. I
Yeah,
think
probably
It could be
court.
court. It could be
I
just
think
simply
probably
court.
It's a better
Because
alternative
it
for
doesn't fall
us.
under the zoning code. It probably just ends up in court. But we'll also get an answer for that one.
Okay.
Maybe we can reach out to Frederick City or somebody in the Jillian and say, hey, what happens? What is the next step? How does it take?
Because by then it's a misdemeanor, right? Or not?
I don't think so.
Or is it? Okay.
Well,
Um,
it's just like David Ott, he filed an appeal. No,
But-
he didn't file an appeal,
Well, no, he filed for a
He-
text
a
amendment,
text amendment.
for zoning to allow it.
So if there's a disagreement and you want to appeal, yeah, we would need to know what the process is. I think either Frederick City or Gettysburg or both have an appeal process outlined in there.
That would be for somebody who says, no, I didn't, this wasn't a violation. They're arguing that it was a
Right,
violation.
or, yeah,
Yeah, they're disputing the
permit was
violation.
revoked.
yeah, dispute.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Or their permit was revoked
Okay,
or denied.
Exactly.
so
Right.
all of the above, they don't agree. Okay,
Let them send it through Frederick County court system. I think is the better way.
I agree. Um, if we look at tying with our existing code, we already have things in our code for illegal activities, disruptive conduct, peaceful enjoyment, all that good stuff. Can we have a little letter section in here that says that refers to that as well, or refers back into the code where those sections? Because right now, the only penalties we have are for what's already outlined in this chapter. But what if, because we talked about, we could refer back to existing code to put some of these fines on or revoke.
I'm not sure what our rights are because we have very little rights, unfortunately. Because, there are known places that are doing illegal activities, not in Emmitsburg, but in surrounding areas. And, Frederick City, they know where their drug houses are. And there's really nothing the city can do because it's criminal.
They turn it over to the police.
Yeah, they turn it over to the police
Okay.
and, the police try to clean it up. But I'm not sure what our rights are. That's a Leslie question, but we have very little rights.
Well, we
lack-
have
lack
very
of
little
enforcement.
rights
Mhm.
as far as that goes, but we don't have very little rights when it comes to revoking rental registration. So we do have control over that. So
Correct.
Yeah, but I'm not sure for criminal activity. That's what I'm concerned about. I don't think we can do it for criminal activity. That's a totally different.
I'm like, you may, because you can evict somebody from Section 8 housing for criminal activity.
Through the sheriff's department.
No, through the
That-
housing, I end up in Baltimore City, and particularly when I have that experience with, is if somebody violates that, the housing authority removes them. Because that's a violation of the rental contract with the housing authority.
Correct.
Right, so
And then
if,
they get an eviction from the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
The sheriff's.
Oh, yeah,
department,
any
that's
served
who serves the
eviction.
warrant.
True. That was true.
Which is the same thing that would happen in Frederick County. They would serve the warrant.
Right, we just can't go and
As well as
throw
us.
them out, you know, you have to be able to get a warrant and
Right.
no, that wouldn't be something that we would do, but we can revoke the rental registration.
Correct.
And then fines would go along with that. That, you know, it's now has occupancy with no rental registration. That would go
Right.
back to the fines.
Correct.
So we can't evict them. I'm not saying we get in that, no. But we can hit them with the rental registration fees.
Correct. And then it goes to the court system.
Right,
Then, like I say, then you're eventually have a lien on the home,
right.
yeah, I would want to make sure we get that one clarified.
on the
because,
property.
you know, because somebody's playing loud music, can we revoke their rental?
Well, I mean,
I'm not
it-
sure.
Oh,
you can if you write it into the agreement, because that's what these other ordinances have is duties of occupants as far as, you know, but we already talked about this. This is something that's expected of everybody who lives here, not
Right,
just
yeah,
people.
like I say,
So,
you have one house on one side of you that is a rental
yep,
that plays loud music, so
Right.
we can take their rental. The
yes.
house on the other side is the owner.
Mhm.
We
We'd
can't-
only have
We
fines.
can't do anything about that.
Right,
Right.
but we have control over the rentals. That's the whole point of
You're
having a
right.
rental
Well,
permit.
you would have control.
Registration, you have control. Where you don't have control over owners, you can hit them with fines with owners, but renting your property here is, we're saying yes, but there are rules that go along with that. If you're not following basic code in our county, why would we continue to allow you to apply for rental registration?
This one, we just want to get clarified from.
Yeah,
Leslie.
I think it goes back to is our goal is about life safety or quality of life.
Both, I would think.
You using the loud music as the example, then you're gonna have to be there to measure the decibel.
Yeah.
And that decibel is going to be listed. And what is that ordinance? When you exceed this decibel at this time of day or this day of
Right.
the week or whatever, then it's a violation. But it would have to be read as a decibel level at whatever distance. You know, my front door versus
Yeah.
your front yard, how loud is it? What's the,
Is that what happens though? Because I've
so that would be your. the way-
never seen anybody measure decibels when the police come and ask them to turn it down.
The police may come and tell them to turn it down,
Uh-huh.
but they're not getting charged with a crime or anything. at that
Oh,
point.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
you have to
So,
do-
so
we don't
the,
have a desk.
so the state noise ordinance would require you to have the decibel reading at the
At
time,
a certain
at
distance.
the time of the occurrence.
Okay, but
And it would currently apply in Emmitsburg under the state noise ordinance and certain hours, certain,
so have we ever had anybody charged against a noise ordinance? Have our,
We had some-
we've had many years ago, we had one attempt. And it was related to dogs barking.
oh, yeah.
So then it was related to dogs barking and it was related to the noise and the dogs barking and whatnot. And so it was
Uh-huh.
part noise on its part, animal control.
Gotcha.
And nothing could come of it because of
Okay,
you had to be there at the moment
right,
when the, I guess the loudest moment happened,
right,
whether it was 1 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night,
right.
to get it measured and get it verified by the enforcement officer.
Right. Okay. And, you know, and
Using the noise one is gonna, is a problem.
I mean, and I would have, when the lawyer looks into it, to look at the Gettysburg one, because they have grounds for renewal, suspension or revoking the license and I mean, let's put it this way, there is no incentive for a landlord to not continue. If we have a landlord that's living on the Eastern Shore, they're not here, they're not part of the neighborhood that's being disrupted. Then we have a nuisance property and they continue to rent to tenants that are continually disrupting the neighborhood or Main Street or the Village Zone or wherever have you. there's nothing preventing him from continuing to do that in our rental registration. Whereas, as we talked about, the only way you can really hit a landlord is in their pocketbook. So then they would be financially motivated to say, hey, guys, get it under control. Or, you know, I don't think that's unreasonable. I lived in a condo situation. Yep. That poor guy who owned a unit right down the second floor underneath of us, not underneath me, but like diagonally. It was a nuisance property. It was a drug house. It was loud music. It was, you name it. But he was there all the time saying, nope, 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 nope. He was involved in trying to get it under control. And then we have other landlords that just won't care because they're not here. It doesn't affect them, but they get their paycheck. So that's the part that I would like us to consider, is going back to the basic, be a decent human being. Because there is in Gettysburg outline of owner duties, duties of occupants. And we can just refer back to what's already in our code.
I was going to say Gettysburg does include provisions for addressing tenant behavior, such as disruptive conduct reports, which is tied to the rental license compliance.
Obviously,
We
this
could look at
isn't
their language.
this isn't something that would be enacted with a, you know, a simple party, but if it's an ongoing nuisance property, that what recourse does the town have on a rental property? We could have some recourse if we build that into this. This is the time to do it. And you could even start off with the same thing as warnings. Hey, guys, you know, and might be worth talking to other municipalities about how they handle that. Something to consider.
Do we have a noise ordinance currently? No?
No.
We go by the county
Right.
ordinance, right?
Right.
County does. So that's what we,
So we don't need to have a separate one because the county would over trump it. Okay. Questions? Any other thoughts?
I think I have a couple questions remaining. I think I just want to clarify, 8.02 is for rental property, but all the codes that follow are 8.04. I think they should be 8.02 throughout the document, because 8.04 is for abandoned property.
Where are you looking? I'm sorry.
Page 1,
Oh,
8.02 rental property towards the top. And then we jump from 02 to 04 throughout the document.
oh,
But 04 is actually for abandoned property in our code.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay,
okay.
So that should all be 8.02 throughout.
It is
Yes, she's correct.
02,
Mhm.
not 04.
and then I think we talked about the definitions. We talked about what a family is, but you also have to talk about the definition for the boarding house and the rooming house, since those are allowed in certain zones. Page 2, the definition for rental unit, a dwelling unit or a room within a dwelling unit leased or rented to a family. We need to include or individual, family or individual. I don't think I saw in here a reinspection fee. I know there's a fee for the initial inspection, but I don't think we stated what the reinspection fee would be if they're on a provisional permit. Or even a complaint for being non-compliant. I mean, technically, our code enforcement officer could have to go onto the property multiple times.
But if he doesn't find anything, are we charging them?
Well, if they're on a provisional permit, I think we should definitely charge for a reinspection.
But yeah, for a reinspection, I can say that. But when you said, what if he's going out there multiple times and they don't find anything? You don't want to charge somebody for that. Or
Right.
at least in my mind, you don't want to charge them for that.
But then if they do find something and they're
That's a
given
different
30
piece. Then that's a
days,
violation.
right?
Yeah,
Pay for the reinspection.
no, because they're paying for the violation.
Wait a minute, so if there is a complaint and the code enforcement officer goes out, does that constitute an inspection fee? Is that what you're saying?
No, what we're
Oh.
saying is that, say you go out, right,
Yeah.
and they find that the window's sealed shut.
Mhm.
That's a violation. They say they clear that and he has to go back out and verify that. Do we charge for him to go back out that second time to verify that the repair has been done? And I'm like, if they're paying the fine, I'm saying, no, you don't charge them to come back a second time for that.
Yeah,
That's what the fine's covering.
I understand. Gotcha.
But if they're on a provisional permit, we have to reinspect.
Yeah.
Should there be a reinspection fee?
I would say if the violation has been corrected, no.
Is it a violation? If I'm going out there to do the inspection, my first time I met for inspection, he just fails. Not a violation, he just fails.
Right.
So he has 60 days to fix it. But after this,
Yeah, but there is the provisional permit
Because you failed.
for 6 months.
right. And then I would say if we go back in 6 months and everything is corrected or they call in 2 months and say, hey, come out and inspect me, I got everything done. I don't think we should charge for that. We should charge the people that don't do if we go back out to inspect again, then they get charged for the inspection.
Mhm. If they
I
do.
mean,
the
we-
first violation.
Yeah, I don't think we want to, and I'm like that with permits. We go after the people for permit fees that are trying to fix their properties up, and we're not doing anything for the people that aren't.
Mm.
So you want to encourage people. So why do we charge them? And that's a dog to fight for another day. But, if they call after 2 months, say, hey, I got it fixed, come out and check it. Everything's good. We don't charge them for that. If we
Right.
go out in 6 months and it's not fixed, then I think they should be charged again for an inspection fee.
Right, because that's again, you're still in, going back then, you're still in violation and haven't fixed it.
Right.
That's the ongoing issue. But once you fix it to say, hey, I call back after a couple of days and say, I fixed the problem. Can you come check and confirm that? If you constantly nickel and dime people that, nobody's going to call them and play this.
Page 2, part C, it says the code housing official shall be permitted upon the property in the event any credible violation is alleged, which we had talked about before. I think we should maybe rewrite that to allow, we need to give the tenant and the landlord 24 to 48 hours of notice. I mean, we don't have the right under the Fourth Amendment to knock on somebody's door and enter the premises. We need to provide notice. So if we could clarify that. Yeah, I had written down that an ordinance language that ignores tenant consent could be challenged under the landlord-tenant law. So I know some municipalities provide the tenant rights notice to the occupants when the property is registered. Some municipalities have an anti-retaliation clause. The landlords can't penalize the tenants for reporting deficiencies in the property. Oh, we talked about if they've refused to correct the violations. Gettysburg has, if a landlord fails to correct the violations, the borough can make repairs, not that we want to get into that business, charge the landlord plus 10% and place a lien on the property if unpaid. So if there's a real problem property that we really want fixed, we could consider putting that in the ordinance.
Here's what I have concern. I like the idea of that. My concern is once we put in and saying that we can repair it, if a landlord doesn't and we don't, and we try to enforce our rights, monetarily down the road, it's gonna say, well, somebody's gonna argue, we didn't consider it important enough to fix it ourselves.
Wait a minute,
What?
you're suggesting that if they don't fix it, the town can go in and fix it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't like that.
because
I
then
don't
if
want
we
to get,
don't.
I don't want to get in a battle of the town doing substandard work, whether we did or didn't do it, but.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, once you open that door, the town's,
I think the property owner needs to be responsible for his or her property or their property. And until they fix it, they pay the violation. The violation is going to cost more than the repair is probably going to cost them. But I don't want to get involved that the town has their right or has their exit. Somebody expects the town to enter their house and fix some.
yeah, you expect the town, people are gonna start then expecting the town
Somebody
just to
start
fix
fixing-
things.
Start fixing the steps because they're
Yeah,
not safe to walk up. I don't think that's on us. That's on them. I don't think it should be in there.
And does the rental registration, does it apply to apartments
Yes.
owned by individuals? Or what if an apartment building is owned by a company, like
Applies to all,
all,
right?
any
Yeah.
rental?
So your apartment buildings,
yeah,
yes.
it'd be no different than a house that's owned by, the house next door to me is owned
Right,
by a Chinese
correct.
bank and rented out.
I thought I saw this somewhere and maybe it was taken out in an old draft. But for the inspection, maybe I was dreaming it. It says that well, what's the term we use? Housing official, which we anticipate being the code enforcement officer, will do the inspection. But I thought I saw somewhere and I can't find it for the life of me that said, or other agency if the paperwork was turned in. Does that ring a bell? Was that an
That was in the old one.
old
I
draft?
think that-
Okay.
I do remember that as well. I think
Okay.
that was in the old one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that,
we took that out.
okay. Is that an option if somebody wanted to do that? I'm just, or are we looking
I
for
think
consistency?
Yeah, I think for consistency purposes, that way everybody's judged the same.
Okay. And then on page 3, letter H, where it says no more than 2 adults may occupy a room. Now, this is where the definitions get confusing. Because for student housing, did we say 1 per bedroom? In that, I thought we said 1 per bedroom for student housing. Was that in there? So how does? And
This
it
is
might
like
be
a
within,
married couple
Huh?
or a dating couple, I think.
Yeah, you
yeah,
have to have two.
And that's also, this definition, isn't this in the IBC as well? Yeah, that no more than 2 adults may occupy a room, but the number of children,
right.
it doesn't matter.
So like, but this wouldn't apply then to student housing that says 1?
Well, yeah, I think the student housing is it's just a different definition.
Okay. Right?
Right, yeah.
It's expected
Expected to
to
be one
not be
student.
family.
Right,
Well,
it's not
This
family,
is expected to be family.
right,
Okay,
correct.
that's where, okay, thank you for clarifying.
I mean, it might be worth stating in there unless stated otherwise in the code.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's the way I kind of read this. Is that
Right,
one is intended for families and one's intended to be
right.
individuals.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball. What do we do about mixed occupancy. Business on first floor, apartments on second.
They have to register their property either way.
Right,
If
but
they're-
does that give us the right to inspect the business on the first floor since? it's-
No,
No.
no.
All right, how do we fix that? Because this isn't gonna fix all of our problem.
Well,
But I think you then need to create the same code, but under a commercial
Commercial rental.
facility
okay, you're saying landlords who rent it out.
for commercial use.
Okay.
For commercial use.
Commercial on first floor, right,
Gotcha.
and then rentals on second. We can make them do something to the second floor, but the first floor,
I see.
and so, and a lot of downtown is that way.
So, yeah.
Can you write a
then
little
you might-
section in there for just commercial?
I think then to make this one clear, for this one, make it, this is for the residential portion only.
Right.
Yeah.
And then move on to commercial or
And-
non-residential.
And put that in there for,
Non-residential.
Yeah, no.
and maybe put that in there.
We,
mixed-
we do need to do that.
Yes.
But you
Yeah, I
might,
think so, because we would have a whole different set of definitions for
Right.
commercial, right?
Yeah.
but you may want to put a note in here that this applies to the residential rentals of mixed use facilities. We would cover
Yeah,
the
you can
apartment,
say
rental apartment, but not the grocery store in front, on the bottom.
Well, I think under purpose, it does say, this is the requirement for all residential rental units.
Right, so we would need another section. for-
Residential.
For non-residential properties, whether they're commercial or not. I don't think you just want to limit it to commercial. You want it, any non-residential property.
You know, Julian, that could be an easy one. I think here again, we could check with Frederick or Gettysburg and say, hey, what do you do with those? The businesses that are rental, how do you keep them up to?
They certainly have the same thing.
Yeah, so it might not be a lot of work that we might be able just to grab that.
We might want to check with Thermont too, because Thermont was just had a problem with that. That's
They
how
have
they
some.
found out most of their people who owned their business ones who weren't renting them out. They were just there for years and empty. They just used them for tax write-offs and they weren't even from here. They were at the MML talking about how they got their rentals, their vacant spaces rented, use again, and they had to go through, I don't know what she went through. I can't remember what she said, but you might want to check with Thermont and see what they did with their residential parts that weren't fixed up, because a lot of them have apartments above them too. The one they did at the bank has businesses bottom and they have apartments at the top now. The
I
one
think
they used to
Thermont
do
did a
not.
lot of theirs through Main Street.
Right, and that's what
for the
was for the
business
Main
portion.
Street program, yeah.
For the business portion.
I mean, I would assume Frederick County or Frederick City would have something similar, Mr. Mayor, I would think.
so.
Yeah,
The city,
Okay.
the city would,
The city, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
and Gettysburg probably would, a lot of mixed use in Gettysburg as well.
okay,
I would think they would have something.
okay. Well, we are 5 minutes before 9 or give or take. I would like this not to go past 9. So are there any further thoughts or questions or feedback?
Not for me.
Okay.
Not now.
I think I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good too. I think that gave a lot of direction. Do you have any questions for us? No, okay, all right. Well, then I think we can wrap this up. It was a good discussion. Thank you, everybody, for your ideas. All right. So we technically already set the agenda for September 8th.
I have one item just to add,
Okay.
if I may.
Sure. Will you review the items that we
I can.
currently have? Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we'll.
So currently under administrative business, you have for consideration approval of election judges for the 2025 Town of Emmitsburg elections.
Mhm.
Under consent, you have 3 proclamations. Proclamation thanking Eric Soder for work on the 2025 Town of Emmitsburg Comprehensive Plan. Also have a proclamation thanking Diane Walbrecker for the same work on the Emmitsburg Comprehensive Plan. You have a proclamation declaring 2025 National Recovery Month. I need to add one more proclamation. It's for consideration proclamation declaring September 2025 National Preparedness Month. And then 4 agenda items. Number 1, for discussion, ordinance 2503, amending Title 8, establishing a rental registration program. Number 2, for discussion, ordinance 2025-15, amending Title 8, establishing vacant property registration and tax. Number 3, discussion related to expanding the community garden. And number 4, approval of resolution 2025-07R, authorizing Mayor Davis and the town manager to file an application for federal assistance with the USDA Rural Development for the West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike Waterline Replacement Project for consideration.
Should we put that one up?
I was going to ask, can we move that number 1?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Well, it sounds like a quick one. I'm sorry, is the rental registration and the vacant property discussion only?
I believe that's what the board devoted at the last meeting. Yes, yes.
Do you think we'll have the rental registration revised in that short a period of time based on our discussion tonight?
We can, I think.
Yeah.
I think Clark told us, or Leslie told us that she could. We can change it for consideration and discussion, and just because it says for consideration doesn't mean that you have to do it. If you want me to add that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, whatever gives us the flexibility. Hopefully we can get it cranked out.
okay.
Um,
I'll make it for consideration or for discussion and consideration.
okay, that works.
Do you want to do both that way or just the rental registration?
We can do both that
Both?
way,
Okay.
just for consistency. It gives us the flexibility.
Mhm.
Okay. Will there be for any guest speakers for the recovery month or anything like that that we can anticipate, or just the proclamation?
We're trying.
Okay. Okay, all right, yeah. All right. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Uh,
Aye. All again, any against? All right, motion carries 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn the
Just
meeting?
One quick thing.
Oh,
before we
I'm
go.
sorry.
That's okay. No. I'm still looking for someone to carry the flag for the community show. Commissioner Bowman Powell did it last year.
I can
and
do, I'll do
The
it.
steak dinner she got and the lobster, and they do all that afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll just mention,
So
I-
would like to do that.
I'll go down and just, I already told him I was coming down.
You want me to get the flag and everything there for you? I'll be there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll get the flag and stuff there.
Okay.
the only tip I have for you, Commissioner Hagan, is don't trip on your dress as you walk down the aisle, because I did that. I'm sorry. Yeah, Commissioner Hoover saw it forever. He'll tease me about that. Okay.
Commissioner Hagan, if you're gonna wear a dress, I'll try to find somebody else.
All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Did you say aye, Commissioner? Hoover? Are you in favor? Adjourning the meeting? Yes, okay, sorry. All right, motion carries 5-0. We adjourn at 8:58 PM. Thank